Hello, I'm Anthony Hernandez, and this is episode 3 in my series on how to make PONG for GameMaker Studio 2. So, in the last episode, we focused on the paddles. We got them to move up and down when the player pressed certain keys, and then we got them to stop just before they collided with these walls that we put here. But our ball doesn't do anything yet, and that's what we're going to focus on today. But something you might notice at first is my ball might look a little bit smaller than yours. That's because before I started recording, I changed the size of it because I thought I was a little big. It was at 32 by 32. I changed it to 16 by 16. And I like the size a little bit better, so I'm going to keep it here. Once again, the way you do this is you're going to come double click your ball sprite, click this box here to resize the sprite, and then just change the values in here. So I set mine as a 16 by 16. You can go ahead and do the same. Alright, so to get this ball to work the way you want it to, we're going to have to work with the object. Now remember that events are where our code goes. Events are important things that happen in the game. And we're going to be working with an event today. It's a little bit different than the events we were working with previously. We worked with collision and step. We are going to work with collision, but a little bit later. Right now we're going to be working with create. So create is different than the events we worked with before because the create event only occurs when this object is created, when it's placed inside the game. So the code that we write in here is going to run once when this object spawns into the game. Not like our step event that occurs, the code inside there occurs 60 times every second. Here we're only going to run when the object first spawns into the game. So, and what we're going to do here is we want our ball to start moving, but we're not going to set it to move right away. We want the players to have a moment to adjust, to get ready to start the game. We don't want them to be like thrown into the chaos right away. The way we're going to do this, we're going to set an alarm. An alarm is just like a timer. And we're going to set an alarm for 1 second. We give them 1 second to get ready to play. And the way we set an alarm is we're going to type the word alarm, and then do brackets, and inside there you can put any number between 0 and 11, and then equals to, and then whatever value we want it to be set to. We're going to do 60 because there are 60 steps in a second, and we want this to be 1 second long. Alarms update every step. Alright, so I'm going to talk about this number here that we put there. So I said you can put any number between 0 and 11. That's because you can have up to 11 different alarms in your game. And the way you differentiate between them is that number there. So I can have alarm 1 equals 15. And I can have alarm, say, 11 equals 32. So these are 3 different alarms that I have set here. They can be used for 3 different things. But anytime I want to refer to this first alarm here, I always have to use alarm 0. So I'm going to delete these, and now we're going to work with alarm 0. So an alarm 0 is an event. So let's go to add event, alarm. Here's all our alarms. You can see you can have up to 11 different ones. And we're working with alarm 0 right now. If I had other alarms in my game, I would have to refer to them. If I had an alarm 1 like I did earlier, or alarm 11, I would have to go to alarm 1 or alarm 11. And you can see I can have all those different alarms in my events. I'm going to delete this because we don't need it. Alright, inside here, once that second has passed, we want to set the ball to move. So let's move that ball. And what I'm going to do here is I don't want the ball to move in the same direction every time. Because if we move it always to the right, I'm going to go back to this whiteboard that I have going on, this sprite that I made for drawing. And I've already drawn lines here. So if I have the ball only move to the right corner, then the right player is going to get it every single time. I don't want that to happen. At the same time, I don't want it to always move to the left corner because I don't want the left player to always get it. I want it to either move to the right corner, the left corner, or the top right corner, the top left corner, the bottom left corner, or the bottom right corner. And I want it to decide which corner to go to randomly. The way we're going to do this is we're going to make a variable. So let's go back to our ball. We're going to make a variable. Let's call it ball direction. And so what I've done here is I've created a variable. It's called ball direction. And I did this what's called camel casing. So whenever you use two words in a variable, you want to capitalize only the first letter of the second word, and then every word that follows. So if I wanted to do this ball direction start, I would also put like capital S on the word start. I'm just going to keep it as ball direction, and I'm going to set this equal to, and then we're going to use a function here, and the function we're going to use is choose. We want to randomly choose any of the numbers inside this parentheses. So those angles are over here. They're 45 degrees, 135 degrees, 225 degrees, or 315 degrees. So let's go back to that ball. Let's go back to that choose function, and let's type those values in. 45, 135, 225, and 315. Cool. So we've got, all right, there we go. We've got our ball direction set. And then you might remember from last episode when we moved those paddles, we used a function called motion underscore set, which calls for a direction and a speed. And we've already set our direction here, so we're going to type ball direction for our direction. So whatever value gets chosen for ball direction is going to be plugged into this function and serve as our direction here. And speed, I want this ball to move a little bit faster than our paddles. So I'm going to go with, let's go with twice as fast, so 10. There we go, let's run our game, see what happens here. Alright, so after 1 second it started moving in one of those directions that we specified. It moved down there, but it kept going. It went past our walls. It just kept going. That's because we haven't set up collision for this. We've got to set up collision for this just the way that we set up collision for our paddles. So let's go collision. This thing is going to have to collide with a lot of things. It's going to have to collide with our wall and with our right and left paddle. So let's do the wall first. Collision, obj wall. I'm going to go back to one of our paddles so we can see the code there. Oh, our paddles when they collide with the wall, they're going to stop moving. But our ball, we want to act differently. We don't want our ball to stop moving when it hits the wall. We want it to bounce. The way we do that is, I'll show you the code. So let's comment here. Let's go bounce off the wall. And the code for that is going to be move underscore bounce. And there's two different ones here. We can use bounce solid and bounce all. Bounce solid is for bouncing off of solid objects, and bounce all is for bouncing off of any object. Let's use bounce solid because we know that our wall is a solid object. And then this parameter here, it's for advanced. It's true or false parameter. So either we want our bounce to be advanced or not. We don't need our bounce to be advanced, so we're going to do false. So there we are. We'll be able to bounce off of the wall now. Let's also set up bounce for our paddles. This one's going to be add event collision obj. Let's start with the right paddle. And let's comment bounce off paddle. And it's going to be move. I spelled move wrong. Move underscore bounce. And our paddles aren't solid. So for this, we'll use all. And then once again, we don't need advanced bouncing. Unadvanced bouncing is just fine for us. So we'll set false there. All right, there we go. And then so we're gonna do the same thing for our left paddle. I'm just gonna copy the event and then paste the event. And because there's already an object or collision with the right paddle event, we can't paste it again, but we can change it. So let's go collision left paddle. So there you go. Now you'll see they're exactly the same thing, which is perfect because we need them to act exactly the same way. So let's run our game and make sure this works. Alright, so it bounced off the wall. I was not fast enough to block the ball with my paddle. Let's maybe slow down the speed. Let's take it to 8. And I'm just going to trust that it'll work. I don't want to test it again. Let's go 10, 8. Cool. So, but something you might have noticed there is when the ball went out of bounds and it just kept going. It never respawned in the middle. That's something we're going to change right now. So let's add another event. So this ball's going to have a lot of events for us. It's going to have the most code, I think, out of all of our objects. And then we're going to go add event. We're going to go, there's all these events here. Step event, alarm event we worked with. There's key press events. If you didn't want to do your key presses inside the step event, you can use these. But there's also other. And there's 2 possible events inside here that we can use. Outside room and intersect boundary. Intersect boundary is when it intersects with the boundary of the room. We're going to use outside room because we want our ball to be fully outside of the room when it respawns. And what we want to do is here, first thing we want to do is we want to make sure that the ball stops moving. So let's get the ball to stop moving. So stop the ball. And we've done this before, you might remember it's motion underscore set 0, 0. Next thing we want to do is we want to reset the ball's position. So GameMaker automatically stores an object's position when it first spawns into the room inside a variable called xStart. Built-in variables in GameMaker show up as green. Another built-in variable is x, which is going to be our x position. So the x position of this object, of any object, is just x. And we want it to go back to its starting position when it first spawns into the game, which is xStart. And we want the y position to be the same as when it started the game, so y equals yStart. And then the other thing we want to do, we stop this from moving. And we gotta set it to move again, but we want it to do that same thing it did last time where it waited 1 second. Remember we set that alarm in the create event, and then once that alarm goes off, we get it to start moving. So the way we're gonna do this is we're gonna reset our alarm. We're gonna use that same alarm again. We're just gonna reset it the same way we set it initially. Alarm 0 equals 60. Now we're gonna run our game, and we'll be able to, maybe this time I'll block it, and then when it goes out of bounds, it'll respawn in the center. I didn't block it again. Still a little bit fast. There we go. But you did see that it restarted in the center. Alright, there we go. We got our paddles and our balls behaving the way they're supposed to.